Hi everyone! I'm so honoured to be here for Impact Day and as part of Disability Pride Month. Thank you for having me. My name is Jarvs. If you don't already know me, I work in marketing, in writing, and accessibility in video games, and sometimes I do some voice acting. I like to keep busy. And I'm proud to say that I am in a senior role as Head of Communications at Happy Volcano. We're an indie studio, and we are working on a game called Modulus. Wishlist it. Ever the marketer. But yeah, basically being in a senior position is something that I never thought possible when I first tried to break into games. I certainly didn't see many disabled people in senior positions in games when I was trying to break in, and so I just didn't know if it would ever be something that I would be able to attain. So when I got asked to do this talk, I really wanted to join in with Impact Day to show other people who are maybe trying to break in now, like myself back then, that you can do this. You can get into games and you can reach a high level. And your disability and neurodiversity does not have to get in your way. So let's jump in. My journey into games was a little bit unconventional. I was a teacher to begin with. I used to teach drama and music in a secondary school, and I got to head a department by 28, which is quite a big achievement, and I'm really proud of that. I loved it. I didn't think I'd ever want to do anything else, but unfortunately my disability progressed to a point where I needed to be in a wheelchair full time, and I was in a lot of pain. I still am. And I just was not able to give the kids what the kids deserved and needed. So I took the very difficult decision to retire from teaching at 28 and had to find something else to do because I cannot sit around doing nothing. Not that type of person. I need to keep busy and I need to keep creative. Video games was the only other area that I had any kind of passion in, and I knew that I wanted to try and find a way in. And I very quickly realized just how difficult that is, whether you're disabled or not. But when you add a disability and neurodiversity into that, it's even more challenging. Entering games is not easy. And this was 2018, 2019, before the pandemic, and remote work was, as popular as it is now. And it was not easy. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see other people, like I said before, in high positions or in any positions really that were very visible with disabilities. It just wasn't something that I could see. They may have been there, but I didn't see it. And I didn't know if there was a place for me. I was navigating a career change, a chronic illness that was getting worse, and what looked like an industry that just was not made for people like myself. But I knew that games was where I wanted to be, so I persevered. I started small. I volunteered. I built communities. I worked on side projects. I did game jams. I built my network. And I slowly built up the skills and the portfolio that I needed, and managed to secure a reference from Dave Jackson at PlayStation Access, who helped me get my first paid position in the industry. From there, I continued to upskill myself. I'm a person that is very career driven, so I put a lot of time and effort into seeking out resources and finding ways to challenge myself, to better myself, to gain more skills, to make the skills I already had better. And that took a lot of time and effort. It wasn't easy. But I did it, and I eventually found myself not just getting better jobs, but getting into the room where conversations mattered, where I was able to affect change in meaningful ways. And I'm going to talk about a particular incident in a minute that incited why I wanted to do that and why I do so much of that now. But partly it was because as I was trying to build my career, I realized just how many barriers there are when you are disabled or neurodiverse. And some of that comes from just plain ignorance, people not knowing that things are barriers and not understanding. So having to educate people was something that was very clear that I needed to be able to do. And the moment that really made me realize that was work that I was going to need to do alongside my own personal career building was when I was first invited to EGX to take part in the RESD stage talks. RESD is run by Barclays, the bank, and it used to be its own thing, but it's partnered with EGX for a long time now, and they have a stage there where people do career talks and talks about their games and things like that, and I was invited, and I was very, very excited. It was a huge opportunity, and I was so happy to have been asked. However, when I got there, I got to the stage area in my wheelchair and realized very quickly that there was no accessible entrance to this stage. It was a raised platform and there were only stairs either side of it. There was no backstage entry. And so the only way for me to do this was going to have to be transferring out of my chair onto crutches, really struggling to get up the stairs, and then having to give my talk after all of that, whilst in extra pain because of doing all of that, and embarrassment from having to do all of that in front of the audience that came to see my talk. It was humiliating and turned what was supposed to be a real proud moment into a very emotional one. And the reason why I bring this up is that at that point, it was one of the things that set me back and made me think, maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe it's just too hard. But the next year, when I went to EGX, I was exhibiting. So I was there on the Thursday. I was there a day early. And the Barclays team spotted me when I got in there and immediately ran over to me. Not just to say hi, but because they wanted to show me something. And they took me over to the rezzed area and they showed me that now things had changed. This time they had completely redesigned the rezzed space. Now, not only was there a ramp, but the ramp was built into the stage design on both sides. It wasn't a last minute metal ramp, an afterthought. It was part of the design and it was integrated. It was permanent. It was thoughtful and it was equal. And they said to me, you know, we thought of you and we knew that we had to do better. And in that moment, I realized how much of an impact being visible and being loud and refusing to accept things as they are could help other people like me. Because what I went through that year before meant that other people with disabilities this year were not going to face those issues, right? And that was something that I think meant more to me than anything else in this entire career has so far. Apologies, I had to pause recording right there because builders decided to start cutting up pavement right outside my studio. So anyway, I'm back. The reason why I told you that story about EGX was that it reminded me just how much visibility matters. Us being in the room really matters as disabled people, because it's not just about tearing down barriers for ourselves. It's about making sure they're never put back up for those that come after us. Sometimes advocacy is loud, and sometimes it's just about refusing to disappear and be quiet when things go wrong. So, if you're disabled and you are trying to break into the industry, here's what I want you to know. You do not need to change who you are to fit this industry. This industry needs to change for you. And you can be part of that change. People like the Impact cohort, Many Cat Studios, Nothing Without Us, the team behind accessibility, so many different teams are already working really hard to make change, and we want everybody to be a part of that, right? If you're already in the room, don't pull up the ladder behind you. We are so much stronger and louder and more powerful when we fight together. Disability Pride Month is a time for celebration, but it shouldn't be the only time that we celebrate who we are. We should also be taking action and celebrating all year long. And if you're wondering how you can do that, here are some ways. Support and uplift our spaces that already exist. Support organisations like Impact, like Nothing Without Us, who are both working to help support accessibility and representation in the industry and the games that we make. Show up and support neurodiverse and disabled devs who are already in the industry. There are events like the Access Ability Showcase run by Laura Kate Dale that helps to highlight the games made by neurodiverse and disabled developers. So show up, support, retweet, share, wishlist their games, do as much as you can to celebrate and shout out their work. Use your platforms. Even if you think you have a small following, I bet your voice will make a difference to somebody. So do it, use the platforms you have, build them, grow them. Retweet people, share, Recommend work for people. Highlight and amplify disabled voices in the industry. Invite disabled devs to speak at events, contribute or be featured, and not just during Disability Pride Month. If you're also part of a hiring process, or you can help affect the hiring process wherever you are, make sure that people are remote inclusive. By default, having a job description that says that you're committed to inclusivity and diversity means absolutely nothing if the very first thing on the application says this is not open to remote candidates, because that immediately turns off a bunch of people from even applying, because they think that their talent and their capability is ignored because they can't work in an office. So think hard about the way you advertise jobs, because it makes a big difference to who applies to them. Offer flexible hours and job application processes that don't gatekeep against disabled people. Include accessibility questions in internal planning. Think, who might this exclude? Provide resources. So I mentioned earlier that I worked really hard to upskill myself because I didn't know where I could go to learn things. So like Nothing Without Us, we provide places where you can find access to tools and tips and resources that will help you with your industry career. And that's so important. You can do that too. You can share what you find. You can highlight events that help other people in the industry. You can do all sorts of things. Mentor other people, help with portfolio reviews, show where other people are doing portfolio reviews if you don't have the skills to do it yourselves, share job application processes, do all sorts of different things to help other people in their progress. Support disability-focused events, panels, game jams, and most of all, just practice everyday allyship. Change isn't overnight, it's ongoing. So you need to challenge ableism in your team's culture and language whenever you can. Listen and believe disabled people's stories and lived experiences. And remember that accessibility helps everyone, not just the disabled. I could do a whole hour's talk on how accessibility features in games make games better overall, not just for disabled people, but that's a different topic. It also helps everybody in your company if your company is more accessible. So do what you can to help. I really appreciate you taking the time out to listen to me today. Getting where I got to so far has been a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm really proud of the path that I've led and the way that I've opened doors for other people. And I hope that if you've listened to this today, you are even just a tiny bit inspired to do the same thing. Your story as a disabled or neurodiverse person in this industry is inspiring, and it can help other people. Just knowing that someone is like you in this industry and you're not alone makes a huge difference. You don't need to be in a senior position to help other people in this community. And I wasn't when I first broke in, and yet because of some of the things that I did on my way here, I know that I have made a difference for some people. And even if I was able to help 2 or 3 people, I'd say it was worth everything I went through to do it. So please do continue to lift each other up and listen to all the other amazing talks and share them, because everybody featured today is incredible, and I'm honored to be part of their day that they're speaking on, and I hope that you will share everything they have to say too. Thanks for listening, guys. If you have questions, please hit me up on socials. I'm at Jarvdusa on everything because I'm obsessed with Hades. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Jarvs Tasker. I love talking to you guys, and I love hearing what you're up to, and I love sharing and celebrating it. So let me know what you're doing and see what we can do together. Thanks. Bye.